Hey, what's up, guys? It's Aaron, or LM9, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of my custom LEGO minifigures from the Netflix show. I mean Disney Plus show, Daredevil. So I'm going to be honest, I never watched Daredevil when it first came out on Netflix years ago. After watching Hawkeye and seeing Wilson Fisk pop up, a lot of people seem to be a little dissatisfied with that character's portrayal, but I personally didn't really understand all the grievances with him. But then I was further persuaded to finally sit down and watch the show when Matt Murdock appeared in No Way Home. Figured it'd be time to finally figure out the context behind that character. I managed to binge the show earlier this year and subsequently felt like an idiot for not watching the show any sooner. As far as superhero shows go, this was great. Absolutely loved it. Felt inspired to make some figures from the show since I enjoyed it so much, that being Daredevil, and Wilson Fisk. Really good timing too, since all of the Marvel shows have been taken off of Netflix as of right now and will eventually be on Disney Plus later this month. But I can imagine they might be censored a little bit since there's a fat chance Disney's going to let this be on their family-friendly platform. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some LEGO. Starting off, here's Daredevil's red suit. Figured we'd start here since this is kind of like his poster suit, the more famous one out of any of the other suits that the character wears in the show. This one in particular is based off of the Season 2 and the Defender's armor. Starting off with the baton, these are made from Lego bar pieces, and the ribbed grips are made from Brickforge bows. There's also a little 3mm in diameter magnet at the pommel of each of these batons so they can magnetically attach like they connect in the show. Let's take these away from the figure real quick. Essentially, everything you see that is raised on this figure is sculpted using some Procreate putty. Knee pads, straps, torso armor, shoulder pads, all of that. Some noteworthy things I wanted to point out was the texture on the chest armor and on the back. If the light catches it right, you can see a little texture in that sculpt, and that texture was achieved by pressing a little piece of fabric into the wet putty as kind of like a stamp to get that pattern in there. Now, the helmet is a prototype piece from Nate's Minifigs. Nate modeled this in Blender and printed it out with his resin printer and then sent me a few prototypes to paint up to show you guys as a little sneak peek. This one here isn't the absolute final version, but the final one will be available for purchase sometime later this month. A link to Nate's site will be in the description if you guys want to check that out. So I painted this cowl using just some acrylic reds and blacks, and then also used a cool Tamiya transparent red for the lenses, which I think turned out really nice. Now, the face underneath has a painted mouth and beard, as well as like the black cloth part of his cowl. But I'm not going to take off this helmet and show you guys what's underneath that because I did nothing to the eyes and the eyebrows on this, so it looks nothing like Matt Murdock under the hood here. So not going to deal with that. Now, Nate did design the black part of the cowl as a separate piece, so you guys don't have to glue anything on or paint your own onto a head. I did paint this one up, but again, this one is an early prototype, so the final product will fit more seamlessly with the helmet piece, but I wanted to show it off anyway, just so you guys can see that you guys will have options if you choose to pick this up. Overall, I really love the way that this helmet looks. Saved me a lot of headache from having to sculpt my own. But with that being said, that is it for Daredevil's red suit. Next up, here is my Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk. Now, when I watched Hawkeye, I didn't really mind the way Fisk was portrayed, but after seeing Daredevil, I'm definitely way more partial towards the version from Daredevil. He's way more threatening, smart, and just a really, really damn good villain.
You embarrassed me. Embarrassed me in front of her.
Now, since Vincent D'Onofrio is a big guy and Kingpin is literally always some huge-ass dude, I thought it would be fitting to mess with the sizing of a Lego figure. So I extended the legs, the arms, the torso, and broadened the shoulders a bit to even out the proportions. Over top that, I sculpted a little bit of a gut to add some thickness to this guy, and then I sculpted the vest, the collar, and the suit jacket. I don't want to go super hard with sculpting the clothes because, well, not that good at sculpting clothes, and also I didn't want the figure to look super un-Lego-like, if that makes sense. I also sculpted onto his legs to hide that unusually long calves that the leg extension produced, and I also thickened up the arms a little bit because they look like twigs at this point. Now, after all that sculpting, I sprayed this figure with a base coat of Tamiya white primer, and then a few layers of Tamiya TS26 pure white spray. This makes painting the white so much easier than normal acrylic paints that are all chunky and crap. These just were so smooth and so nice to work with. After that, I painted up the black outlines for the major areas of the suit, and I also used some silver for the accents and the wrinkles. I used silver since his suits in Season 3 always have like a hint of metallic sheen in them, so I thought the silver would be a nice way to achieve that without using a full metallic white. Last thing that was left after that was just the head. Essentially everything on this face was painted by me, other than the base of the eyes, but even those were modified a tad. Big thanks to my friend Andy, or Delta.png, for helping me out with a likeness on this. I think it looks pretty good. Now, just as a size comparison, here he is with the red suit Daredevil, and our next figure, the Season 3 Vigilante suit. Now, the Vigilante, or the black suit from Season 3, was probably my favorite of the 3 figures to make. I used that same texturing method that I used on the red suit on this figure for the head wrap. I particularly really like the strands on the back of the head wrap that are kind of tied in that knot. I really like the way I got those to flow. They look pretty cool. I'm also really proud of the face on this guy. All that is completely painted, and the blood effect was really, really fun to do. I used some Citadel Technical Blood for the Blood God paint for that. It's just a lot of fun to work with, so I highly recommend trying that out if you're looking for a cool blood effect. And that blood does drip down from his face onto his torso, which does have a very thin sculpt for the chest, since Matt is kind of, he's kind of a hunk. Needed to add some muscle on here. Now here I also painted the abs and the wrinkles as well, just in some thin patterns. Now, the arms do have the nylon thread wrapping around for his Muay Thai ropes that share that same blood effect paint job on those. Really, really happy with how those turned out. And lastly, the legs do have some boots I painted on, which I'm really happy with. The upper part of the legs have like a matte spray finish that I added. Then I went in with a gloss paint applicable, just using a paintbrush, gloss overcoat on those, which I think looks really nice. Overall, just a fairly simple looking figure, but I'm just really proud of it. So hopefully you guys like it. Now, that's all I really had to show you guys for my custom LEGO Daredevil figures. I will say I do want to make Punisher from the series as well, but I'm trying to finish up some current projects before I start some new ones. One of those current projects is my Book of Boba Fett figures. I have Boba and Fennec almost done, as well as some updates to my Din Djarin figure, but I'm waiting for some casts of their helmets to come in next week to finish these guys up. I do also want to make Cad Bane from the show at some point, but honestly right now I'm not super motivated to do that, since Book of Boba Fett was, in my opinion, quite a letdown, but I don't think that's really that hot of a take. I think that's kind of what the usual consensus is on that show. But anyway, I am working on some 2003 Clone Wars stuff, as well as some original trilogy stuff, so be on the lookout for that. I'm still making some Star Wars stuff. I know it's been a little hot streak of Marvel here, but I am going back to some Star Wars figures. I also did want to say that I know I've been lacking with uploading videos this whole year pretty much. The past 2 months have been kind of dark, but I'm just suffering from being a little too busy at work and just with the hobby in general. So I can't really focus on video making as much as I wish I could. But I'm also just feeling kind of unmotivated to make some video content and just more focused on actual painting and the actual creation of the figures themselves. So hopefully that's a rut I can get out of sometime soon. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys later.